She collapsed beside his car at midnight, barefoot and shivering, with no memory of her name. The lonely Mafia boss should have walked away. Instead, he took her hand and discovered she was the only one who could save his dying heart. The rain came down like bullets on Fifth Avenue. Luca De Luca pressed his palm against the brick wall outside Velvet Room, the private club where he just closed a deal worth $3 million. The kind of deal that happened in whispers in back rooms where champagne costs more than most people's rent. But right now he couldn't care less about the money. His chest was on fire. The pain started as a dull ache during dessert, spreading like cracks in ice across his ribs. Now it felt like someone had reached inside and was squeezing his heart with a fist made of razors. Luca's vision blurred. The neon signs across the street bled into watercolor smears of red and blue. Not here. Not now. He was 42 years old and dying. Had been for 3 years. Some rare genetic condition his doctors couldn't even pronounce properly. Something about his heart muscles slowly turning to scar tissue. They gave him 2 years, maybe 3 if he was lucky. That was 36 months ago. Luck apparently was running out. Luca pushed himself off the wall and stumbled toward his car. A black Mercedes S-Class, parked where his driver Marco had left it, gleaming under the streetlight despite the rain. He fumbled for his phone. His fingers felt thick and useless. Then he saw her. A woman, crumpled on the wet pavement beside his car's rear tire. Face down, one arm stretched toward the gutter, the other tucked beneath her. She wore a thin cotton dress, completely soaked through, and no coat. No shoes. Her bare feet were scraped and bleeding. Luca stopped breathing hard. Every instinct told him to get in the car and drive away. This was New York at 2 in the morning. People collapsed on streets all the time, junkies, drunks, runaways. None of his business. He had his own problems. But something made him look closer. Even unconscious, even soaked and shivering, there was something about her face. The curve of her jaw. The way her dark hair stuck to her cheek. "I know you." The thought came from nowhere, sudden and certain. But that was impossible. Luca knew everyone in his world. Every player, every pawn, every threat. He'd built his empire on knowing faces, reading people, remembering debts. This woman was a stranger. Wasn't she? Another wave of pain crashed through his chest. Luca gasped, nearly went down himself. He grabbed the car door handle for support, his vision tunneling. Through the gray fog creeping into his peripheral, he looked at the woman again. She wasn't breathing right. Her chest rose and fell too shallow, too slow. Leave her. Call 911. Drive away. Instead, Luca opened the back door and bent down. His hands shook as he slipped them under her shoulders. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. Her skin was ice cold against his palms. He half dragged, half carried her into the back seat. Her head lolled against his shoulder, and for one strange moment, he caught her scent beneath the rain and the city grime. Something clean. Antiseptic, almost. Like hospitals. Luca settled her across the leather seats, then climbed in beside her. His chest was still screaming. He reached for his phone again, meaning to call Marco, but his hand cramped. The phone clattered to the floor. The woman's eyes snapped open. Blue. Startlingly blue. Even in the dim light. They locked onto his with an intensity that made him freeze. "Your pulse," she whispered. Her voice was raw, barely audible. Too fast. Irregular. Luca stared at her. "What?" Her hand shot out, cold fingers pressing against his wrist before he could pull away. She held it there, silent, counting. Her eyes unfocused slightly, like she was calculating something complex in her head. "Ventricular tachycardia," she said. "How long?" "How long what?" Luca tried to pull his arm back. She held on with surprising strength. Since the episode started, she sat up slowly, swaying. 5 minutes? 10. Who are you? She ignored the question. Her other hand moved to his chest, pressing firmly just below his collarbone. "Does this hurt?" It did. Luca nodded. Okay. Breathe with me. In for 4 counts she demonstrated. Her own breathing suddenly controlled and measured. Hold for 4. Out for 6. Do it. Listen, I don't. Now her voice carried an edge of command that cut through his confusion. Before you pass out and crack your skull on this car. Something about her certainty made him obey. Luca breathed in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Held it. Released slowly. The woman counted aloud, her hand still pressed against his chest, her fingers monitoring his pulse. After a minute, the crushing pain began to ease. After 2, he could think clearly again. The woman released his wrist and slumped back against the seat, her temporary surge of energy apparently exhausted. Better? She asked. Yeah, Luca studied her carefully. She looked worse than before. Her face pale as paper, her lips faintly blue. But her eyes were sharp. Aware. How did you know to do that? She opened her mouth. Closed it. A crease formed between her eyebrows. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I mean I don't know. Her voice rose, panicked now. I don't know how I knew. I don't know why I'm here. I don't. She looked down at herself, at the soaked dress, the bleeding feet. I don't know who I am. Luca watched her face cycle through confusion, fear, and finally a kind of hollow shock that he recognized. He'd seen it before, in interrogations, when someone realized they'd lost something they could never get back. What's your name? He asked quietly. She shook her head. I don't remember. Where do you live? I don't know. What's the last thing you remember? The woman pressed her palms against her temples. Nothing. It's all empty. But when I saw you when you were in pain, my hands just moved. Like they knew exactly what to do. She looked at him with those unsettling blue eyes. Why? What's wrong with me? Luca had spent 20 years in a world built on secrets and lies. He could spot a con from a mile away. Could read a poker face like a children's book. This woman wasn't lying. The terror in her voice was real. The confusion was real. And somehow, impossibly, she just talked him through a cardiac episode using techniques that probably saved his life. What's wrong with you? Luca repeated slowly. He pulled out his phone again, this time managing to grip it properly. That's a hell of a good question. He had contacts. Doctors who didn't ask questions, specialists who treated bullet wounds and didn't file reports. If this woman had been drugged or hurt or worse, they'd find out. And if she really had saved his life just now. Luca looked at her again, at the way she hugged herself against the cold, at the lost expression on her face. I know you, his instincts whispered again. He didn't. But he was going to find out why he felt like he should. Come on, he said, typing rapidly. I'm taking you somewhere safe. Where? Luca met her eyes. My place. Until we figure out who you are. And more importantly, he thought but didn't say, who wanted her to forget. The penthouse was 53 floors above the chaos of Manhattan, wrapped in floor-to-ceiling windows that made the city look like a galaxy of fallen stars. The woman stood in the guest room doorway, staring at the king-sized bed like it might bite her. You should sleep, Luca said from behind her. He'd changed into dry clothes, black slacks and a crisp white shirt, his wet jacket discarded somewhere in the hallway. There are clothes in the closet. My housekeeper keeps extras for guests. The woman turned to face him. In the warm light of the penthouse, she looked even more fragile than before. Someone had given her a blanket during the car ride, and she clutched it around her shoulders like armor. Why are you helping me? It was a fair question. Luca didn't help strangers. He collected debts, enforced contracts, and occasionally removed problems that interfered with business. Charity wasn't part of his vocabulary. You helped me first, he said finally. I'm returning the favor. That's not an answer. Smart. Even terrified and memoryless, she could see through bullshit. Luca almost smiled. Get some rest. We'll talk in the morning. He closed the door before she could argue. 3 hours later, the pain came back. Luca woke to his chest constricting, his heart stuttering like a broken engine. He'd made it to the bathroom before his knees gave out, collapsing against the marble tile. Cold sweat poured down his face. His vision flickered. The prescription bottle sat on the counter, nitroglycerin tablets his doctor had given him for episodes like this. Luca reached for it with shaking hands, but his fingers wouldn't cooperate. The bottle skittered across the counter and crashed to the floor, pills scattering like white confetti. No, not like this. Footsteps pounded down the hallway. The bathroom door flew open. The woman dropped to her knees beside him, her hands immediately going to his neck, checking his pulse. Same as before. Luca couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Okay, I've got you. Her voice was steady now, all traces of fear gone. She grabbed a towel from the rack, folded it, and placed it under his head. I need you on your back. Can you move? He managed a nod. She helped him shift, her hands surprisingly strong as she guided him down. Then she pressed 2 fingers against his carotid artery, her eyes distant and focused, like she was reading something only she could see. Your medication, where is it? Luca gestured weakly toward the scattered pills. She grabbed one, placed it under his tongue. Let it dissolve. Don't swallow. Her hands moved to his chest, fingers splayed over his heart. This is going to feel strange, but trust me. She pressed down in a specific rhythm, not CPR, something else. Firm pressure released, then a slight rotation. Over and over. Her fingers found points along his rib cage, pressing hard enough to hurt, then releasing. Some kind of technique he'd never seen before. Breathe, she commanded. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 6 counts out. With me. They breathed together. Her hands never stopped moving, never hesitated. After 2 minutes, Luca's heart rate began to stabilize. After 5, the crushing pressure in his chest eased to a manageable ache. The woman sat back on her heels, breathing hard herself now. Better. Yeah, Luca stared at her. What the hell did you just do? She looked down at her hands like they belonged to someone else. Emmanuel vagal maneuvers combined with targeted pressure point therapy. It stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, helps regulate cardiac arrhythmia. The words came out automatically, clinical and precise. Then her face went white. Oh God, how do I know that? You're a doctor, Luca said slowly. I can't be. I don't remember being a doctor. I don't remember anything. She stood abruptly, backing away from him. But my hands, they just moved. Like someone else was controlling them. Like muscle memory I didn't know I had. Luca pulled himself up, leaning against the bathtub. His heart still felt fragile but functional. Those techniques you used, that's not basic first aid. That's specialized training. Cardiothoracic medicine, she whispered. Advanced intervention for arrhythmias. I shouldn't know this. Why do I know this? Because someone trained you. Someone who needed you to know it. Luca watched her carefully. And then someone made you forget. The woman wrapped her arms around herself, that lost look returning to her face. Why would anyone do that? That's what we're going to find out. Luca stood steadier now. I have a doctor, discreet, doesn't ask questions. He'll examine you tomorrow, run tests. If you were drugged, if something was done to you, we'll find evidence. And if we don't find anything, we will. Luca moved past her toward the door, then paused. What you did just now, you saved my life. Twice in one night. I don't forget things like that. I don't even know my own name, she said quietly. How can you trust me? Luca looked back at her. This strange woman who'd appeared beside his car like fate had dropped her there. Who knew exactly how to stop his heart from killing him, but couldn't remember where she'd learned it. I don't trust you, he said honestly. But whoever erased your memory had resources, had power. That means you know something dangerous. Something worth destroying a person's identity to hide. He met her frightened blue eyes. Until we figure out what that is, you're safer with me than anywhere else. Why? Because, Luca said, I'm the most dangerous person in this city. And if someone's hunting you, they're going to have to go through me first. He left her standing there, framed in the bathroom doorway, looking small and lost in borrowed clothes. But her hands, those knowing, capable hands, told a different story entirely. Dr. Vincent Corso arrived at dawn, carrying a black medical bag that had seen better days. He was 72, with hands that still moved with a surgeon's precision and a resume full of credentials he could never use again. 20 years ago, he treated a gunshot wound without reporting it. The patient had been Luca's father. Vincent had been treating the De Luca family ever since. "She's in the guest room," Luca said, leading him down the hallway. "Don't scare her more than necessary." Vincent raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you care about scaring people?" "Since she saved my life. Twice." That made Vincent stop walking. "Your condition, it's getting worse." "We're not here to talk about me." Luca knocked on the guest room door. "It's Luca. The doctor's here." The woman opened the door slowly. She'd showered and someone, probably Maria the housekeeper, had brought her fresh clothes. Jeans and a simple gray sweater that made her eyes look even bluer. Her wet hair was combed back from her face, revealing a small scar near her left temple. "This is Dr. Corso," Luca said. "He's going to examine you, run some tests. He's completely confidential." "Confidential," she repeated, a bitter edge to her voice. "Like a priest or a lawyer? Like someone who treats people the hospitals would call the police about," Vincent said bluntly. "But I'm still a doctor. I take the Hippocratic Oath seriously, even if I lost my license for it. May I?" She nodded, stepping aside to let them in. Luca waited in the hallway while Vincent conducted the examination. 45 minutes passed. Then an hour. He paced the length of the corridor 3 times before the door finally opened. Vincent's face was grim. "We need to talk. Privately." They went to Luca's study, all dark wood and leather, with a wall of books Luca had never read but kept anyway because his father had. Vincent set his medical bag on the desk with a heavy thud. "What did you find?" Luca asked. "Nothing good." Vincent pulled out a tablet, tapping through what looked like test results. "She has no head trauma. No signs of organic brain injury. Her neurological reflexes are perfect. Too perfect, actually. Her physical health is excellent. Muscle tone suggests regular exercise. No malnutrition despite appearing underweight." "Then what's wrong with her?" "Her blood work." Vincent turned the tablet around. "I ran a tox screen. She has traces of 3 different benzodiazepines in her system, plus something else I had to send out for identification. Whatever it is, it's pharmaceutical grade and very sophisticated." Luca leaned forward. "Someone drugged her. Repeatedly. Over weeks, maybe months. The half-lives don't match. These drugs were administered at different times, in carefully controlled doses." Vincent's jaw tightened. "This wasn't a street drug situation, Luca. This was medical. Someone with knowledge and resources kept her sedated and compliant over an extended period." "Why?" "I don't know. But here's what concerns me most." Vincent pulled up another screen. "I did a basic cognitive assessment. She couldn't remember her name, her past, anything autobiographical. Classic retrograde amnesia. But when I asked her medical questions, anatomy, procedures, pharmacology, she answered everything perfectly. Graduate-level knowledge, specialized training. She even corrected me once on a cardiothoracic technique." Luca thought about the night before, the way her hands had moved with absolute certainty. So her procedural memory is intact, but her episodic memory is gone. "Exactly. Which doesn't happen naturally." Vincent closed the tablet. "Amnesia from trauma or disease doesn't work this way. You don't lose your name but remember how to perform a vagal maneuver. This is selective. Deliberate. Someone wanted her to forget who she was," Luca said slowly, "but they needed her to keep her medical knowledge. That's my assessment. Whoever did this wanted to erase her identity while preserving her training. The question is why?" Luca stood, walking to the window. 53 floors below, the city was waking up. Cars flooding the streets. People rushing to lives they remembered. What else? There are needle marks on her inner arms. Recent within the last week. Someone was giving her 4 medications regularly. Vincent paused. And there's something else. That scar on her temple? It's surgical. Very precise incision, maybe 6 months old. I can't tell what it was for without imaging, but it's consistent with a biopsy or some kind of neural access. Neural access, Luca repeated. You mean they opened her skull? I mean someone performed brain surgery on her. Whether it was therapeutic or experimental, I can't say. But combined with everything else, Vincent shook his head. This woman was held somewhere. A facility with medical capabilities. She was drugged, operated on, and her memory was systematically suppressed. Then someone dumped her on a street corner and walked away. Luca turned back from the window. Can you reverse it? Bring her memories back? Maybe. If I knew what drugs they used, if I had time and resources. But Luca. Vincent's expression was deadly serious. Whoever did this has significant resources. Medical expertise. Access to pharmaceutical-grade compounds that aren't available on any street corner. This wasn't some criminal operation. This was institutional. A hospital. Or a research facility. Or government. Or all 3. Vincent picked up his bag. My advice? Get her out of the city. Get her somewhere safe. Because if they erased her identity, they had a reason. And if they find out she's resurfaced with that medical knowledge intact. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Luca looked toward the guest room, where a woman without a name sat trying to remember who she'd been. Someone had taken everything from her. Someone with power and reach and the coldness to hollow out a human being like she was nothing more than data to be wiped. She's not going anywhere, Luca said quietly. She stays with me. Luca. I said she stays. Until we find who did this. Vincent studied him for a long moment. You're going to make enemies. I already have enemies. Luca met his gaze. What's a few more? The woman's belongings fit in a single plastic bag. Maria had collected them from the guest's bathroom. The soaked dress, now dried stiff with rain and grime, and a small canvas messenger bag that had been clutched under her arm when Luca found her. Everything smelled like the street. Luca spread the items across his desk while the woman watched from the doorway. She'd been silent since Vincent left, processing whatever the doctor had told her about the drugs in her system. About being someone's experiment. Do you recognize any of this? Luca asked. She stepped closer, eyeing the dress with distaste. No. It's like looking at someone else's life. The messenger bag was more promising. Canvas, weathered but good quality. No labels, no identifying marks. Luca opened it carefully, emptying the contents onto the desk. A granola bar wrapper. Lip balm. 3 loose coins totaling 67 cents, a hair tie, and a laminated ID badge, torn diagonally across the middle. Luca held it up to the light. The damage was deliberate. Someone had ripped it specifically to destroy the photo and name, but portions of text remained visible along the edges. Blue letters on white background, Enix Rese, and below that, Ethical STA. Phoenix Research. The woman said suddenly. She touched the badge with one finger, as if it might burn her. That's what it says. Phoenix Research Medical Staff. You remember it? No. I can read what's left, but her hand trembled slightly. Luca turned the badge over. A barcode was printed on the back, partially destroyed. A magnetic strip ran along the bottom, the kind used for secure facility access. This is a high-level security badge. Medical staff at a research facility. What kind of research? That's what we're going to find out. Luca set the badge aside and picked up the messenger bag again, checking the pockets more carefully. His fingers found something hard in a hidden interior compartment, sewn into the lining. He pulled out a flash drive. Small black professional grade. No branding, no labels. Just a USB connector and a tiny LED light. The woman stared at it like Luca had pulled out a live grenade. "Do you know what's on it?" he asked. No, but she wrapped her arms around herself, that defensive posture he was beginning to recognize as fear. "But I hid it. Whoever I was, I knew to hide it where someone wouldn't find it easily." Luca carried the flash drive to his laptop. "Then let's see what you were protecting." He plugged it in. The computer made a soft chirp of recognition, and a window opened showing a single encrypted folder. Password protected. Luca tried several common combinations. Nothing worked. The system allowed 3 attempts before lockout. "This is military-grade encryption," Luca said. "Whatever's on here, you didn't want anyone accessing it." The woman came to stand beside him, staring at the password prompt. Try Helix 7 Prime. Luca typed it in. Access denied. "How did you know to try that?" he asked. "I don't know. The words just came to me." She pressed her fingers to her temples. "Try membrane cascade protocol. Access denied. 1 attempt remaining." Wait, Luca pulled up a new browser window and typed Phoenix Research into the search bar. Pages of results flooded the screen: news articles, press releases, scientific journals. He clicked on the first news article dated 8 months ago. Phoenix Research Center shut down amid ethics investigation. He scanned the article quickly. Phoenix Research had been a private biomedical facility in upstate New York, funded by pharmaceutical companies and government grants. They specialized in experimental treatments for genetic disorders and terminal illnesses. 6 months ago, federal investigators had raided the facility following allegations of unauthorized human trials and ethics violations. The center had been shuttered, its data seized, its staff scattered. "They were developing experimental cures," the woman whispered, reading over his shoulder, "for diseases conventional medicine couldn't treat." Luca scrolled down. There was a photo: the Phoenix Research Building, a sleek glass and steel structure surrounded by armed federal agents. But no staff photos, no names listed. The article mentioned that several researchers had vanished before investigators arrived, taking sensitive data with them. "You worked there," Luca said. "And when the facility went down, you took this drive and ran." "But why? Why would I run if I didn't do anything wrong?" "Because maybe you knew something. Something worth killing for. Or worth erasing someone's memory for." Luca looked at her. "We need to get into this drive. Whatever's on it could tell us who you are. We have 1 attempt left. If we fail, I know people who can crack it. But it'll take time, and it means involving others. People I trust." But still, Luca ejected the drive carefully, holding it up between them. "This is your life on here. Your identity. Your memories. Maybe evidence of what they did to you. The question is, do you want to know?" The woman met his eyes. For the first time since he'd found her, he saw something other than fear in her expression. Something harder. Determined. "I want to know who I was," she said quietly. "And I want to know who did this to me. It might be dangerous. If what's on this drive is valuable enough to erase your memory over, then people will come looking for it. Let them come." Her jaw set. "I'm tired of being afraid of shadows. I want answers." Luca pocketed the flash drive. "Then we'll get them. But first, we're moving you somewhere more secure." If Phoenix Research was shut down by federal investigation, that means powerful people are involved. The kind who don't like loose ends. "You think I'm a loose end? I think you're a woman who walked away with classified research and a head full of medical knowledge someone desperately wanted to erase." Luca stood. "Which makes you either a criminal or a witness. Either way, you're in danger." She looked down at the torn ID badge, at the fragments of a life she couldn't remember. "I don't even know what to call myself." "Pick a name. Any name. Until we know who you really are." She was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then, "Emma. I'll be Emma." It was a lie, a placeholder. But it was hers. "All right, Emma," Luca said. "Let's find out who you used to be." The restaurant sat on a pier jutting into the Hudson River, all weathered wood and string lights that turned the water into liquid gold. Luca had chosen it deliberately, public enough to feel safe, quiet enough for conversation, and far enough from his usual haunts that no one would ask questions about the woman sitting across from him. Emma picked at her seafood linguine, eating mechanically. She'd barely spoken during the drive, just stared out the window at the city sliding past. Luca understood. Vincent's news had been a lot to process. Being told you'd been systematically erased as a person, that took time to sink in. "You need to eat," Luca said. "Vincent said you're underweight." "I'm not hungry." "Eat anyway," he cut into his steak. "You'll need your strength for what comes next." "And what comes next?" "I have someone working on the flash drive. Best computer specialist in the city, completely off the books. He'll crack the encryption without triggering any lockouts." Luca took a sip of wine. "Should have answers in 48 hours. Emma set down her fork. "What if I don't like the answers? What if I did something terrible?" "Then you deal with it. But running from answers doesn't change what happened. It just keeps you trapped." Luca met her eyes. "Besides, people don't usually erase good memories. If someone wanted you to forget, chances are you were onto something they needed buried." "That's not exactly reassuring." "I'm not here to reassure you. I'm here to help you find the truth." A small smile flickered across her face, the first he'd seen. "You're not very good at the comforting thing, are you?" "I'm a businessman who deals in high-stakes negotiations and occasional violence. Comfort isn't in my skill set." But he found himself almost smiling back. "Eat your pasta." She picked up her fork again, and for a few minutes they ate in companionable silence. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversation around them, the kind of place where people came for anniversaries and proposals. Normal people with normal lives. Then the ambulance siren split the night. It started distant, somewhere across the water, then grew louder as the vehicle raced down the West Side Highway. The wailing pitch rose and fell, echoing off the buildings. Emma's fork clattered to her plate. Her face went chalk white. "Emma!" Luca reached across the table. She didn't respond. Her eyes had gone distant, unfocused. Her breathing turned rapid and shallow. She gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles went white. "Emma, look at me." "I can't." Her voice came out strangled. "The blood. There's so much blood." The siren faded into the distance, but Emma didn't come back. She was somewhere else entirely, trapped in a memory that was tearing its way to the surface. Luca stood, moving around the table. He crouched beside her chair, keeping his voice low and steady. "You're safe. You're here with me. Focus on my voice." "He's coding. The patient is coding. I need." Emma's hands moved in front of her. Fingers splayed like she was performing surgery on an invisible body. "Scalpel. I need a scalpel. No time for sterile field. Have to go in now or he dies." Emma. Luca caught her hands gently. "You're not there. You're here. In a restaurant. No one's dying." But she wasn't listening. Tears streamed down her face as her hands continued their phantom work. "Aortic dissection. Type A. Emergency procedure. I'm opening the chest cavity. Spreading the ribs. God, the bleeding won't stop. I need suction. Someone give me suction." People at nearby tables were starting to stare. Luca ignored them, focusing entirely on Emma. "It's a memory. You're remembering. But it's over now. You're safe." "I couldn't save him." Emma's voice broke. "He died on the table. 26 years old, and he died because I couldn't work fast enough. Because the trauma was too severe. Because..." She looked at Luca, really seeing him for the first time. "I remember. Oh God, I remember doing that. Emergency surgery. Trauma surgery. In a makeshift operating room. No proper equipment. Just me." And she pressed her hands to her face. "I can't see the faces. I can't see where I was. But I remember the procedure. Every cut. Every second of failing to save someone's life." Luca helped her stand. "We're leaving. Can you walk?" She nodded shakily. He left cash on the table, far more than the bill, and guided Emma out of the restaurant. She leaned on him heavily, trembling. Outside, the cool air seemed to help. She pulled away slightly, wrapping her arms around herself. "I killed someone," she whispered. "You tried to save someone," Luca corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there?" "He still died. Every doctor loses patience." "It doesn't make you a killer." Luca led her toward the car, where Marco waited with the engine running. "But it tells us something important. You weren't just medical staff at a research facility. You were a surgeon. A trauma surgeon specifically, working in conditions that weren't standard." Emma climbed into the back seat, still shaking. Why would a research center need a trauma surgeon? Because maybe they weren't just researching treatments. Maybe they were testing them on people who got hurt in the process. Human experimentation, Emma said hollowly. Unethical trials. The kind that get facilities shut down and people disappeared. Luca slid in beside her. The kind that needs surgeons willing to work off the books. Or surgeons who don't know they have a choice. You think I was forced to work there? I think you ran away with classified data hidden in your bag, and your memory full of things someone wanted erased. That sounds like someone who realized they were part of something wrong and tried to escape. Emma was quiet as Marco pulled into traffic. The city lights painted moving shadows across her face. Finally, she said. The ambulance siren triggered it. The sound brought everything back. Sense memory. Sound, smell, touch. They're stored differently than visual memories. Harder to suppress completely. Luca watched her carefully. Which means the rest is still in there. Your identity, your past, everything. It's buried but not gone. How do I get it back? We keep exposing you to triggers. Carefully. And we crack that flash drive. Chances are whatever's on there will tell us exactly who you are and what you were running from. Emma leaned her head back against the seat, exhausted. I'm not sure I want to remember anymore. If all my memories are like that one watching people die, maybe forgetting was a mercy. Maybe, Luca agreed. Or maybe remembering is the only way to make sure it never happens again. To anyone. She turned to look at him. Why do you care? Really? Luca considered the question. The honest answer was complicated, part debt, part curiosity, part something else he didn't have words for yet. This woman had appeared in his life at the exact moment he needed her, had saved him twice with knowledge she shouldn't possess. That kind of coincidence didn't happen naturally. Because someone tried to erase you, he said finally. And I don't like people who think they can make other people disappear. It's bad for business. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was true enough. Emma closed her eyes. Thank you. For not running when I started losing it back there. I don't run, Luca said quietly. From anything. Even when he probably should. The call came at 3 a.m. Luca answered on the second ring, already awake. Sleep had become a luxury his failing heart rarely allowed. What? We have a problem. It was Marco, his voice tight. Someone's asking questions. About the girl. Luca sat up, instantly alert. Who? Started in the underground markets. Bounty hunters, information brokers. Someone's putting out feelers. Description matches her perfectly. Dark hair, blue eyes, medical training. They're calling her the Phoenix asset. How much are they offering? That's the problem, boss. They're not offering money. They're offering protection. Immunity. Whatever the finder wants, they get it. That kind of blank check? It's coming from someone with serious power. Luca looked toward the guest room where Emma was sleeping. Or trying to. Any names? Nothing solid. But the word is it's connected to pharmaceutical companies. Maybe government contracts. People are scared, Luca. No one's taking the job because no one wants to cross whoever lost her in the first place. Then why are you calling me at 3 a.m? Marco hesitated. Because not everyone's scared. Viktor Kozlov heard about it. Luca's jaw tightened. Viktor Kozlov ran the Russian syndicate out of Brooklyn, brutal, efficient, and constantly looking for leverage against the DeLuca family. Viktor thought Emma was valuable. How did he hear? Luca asked. Someone talked. Probably saw you at the restaurant last night, Marco's voice dropped. Victor's telling people he's going to find out what makes her so special. He thinks she might be leverage against you. She's not leverage. She's under my protection. Victor doesn't care about the rules anymore. Not since you shut down his port operations last month. He wants blood, boss. And if he can't get yours, he'll settle for anyone close to you. Luca threw off the covers, already moving. How long do we have? His people are already looking. Could be hours, could be days. But Luca, if Victor gets her first, he won't just turn her over to whoever's looking. He'll use her. Find out what she knows, what makes her valuable. And he won't be gentle about it. Get the car ready. We're moving her now. Where to? The countryside property. The villa in the Catskills. It was 2 hours north, isolated, defensible. Luca had bought it years ago as a safe house, somewhere to disappear when the city became too dangerous. I want a security team there before we arrive. Full perimeter. No one gets close. On it, boss. Marco paused. Is she worth all this? Luca thought about Emma's hands guiding him through cardiac episodes, about the flash drive hidden in her bag, about the terror in her eyes when she'd relived that surgery, about someone powerful enough to erase a person and make them disappear. She saved my life, he said simply. That makes her worth everything. He ended the call and walked to the guest room. Knocked once. Emma, we need to talk. She opened the door almost immediately, already dressed. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She'd been crying or not sleeping or both. What's wrong? Someone's looking for you. Information spreading through the underground. We need to move. Now. The color drained from her face. Who? Who's looking? I don't know yet. But they're calling you the Phoenix asset. They want you back badly enough to offer blank checks to anyone who finds you. Luca kept his voice calm, steady. And one of my rivals heard about it. He's coming for you, not to return you but to use you against me. Then leave me. Let them have me. I'm not worth. Stop, Luca cut her off. You don't get to decide what you're worth. And I don't abandon people under my protection. Ever. Understand? Emma wrapped her arms around herself, that defensive gesture he'd seen so many times now. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't reach you. He checked his watch. We leave in 20 minutes. Pack light. We'll get anything else you need when we arrive. Luca, I don't have anything to pack. Everything I own fits in a plastic bag. He paused. She was right. This woman who'd once been someone important enough to erase, had nothing. No clothes, no possessions, no identity. Just borrowed items and a name she'd chosen out of thin air. Then we leave in 10 minutes, he said quietly. Maria's already pulling the car around. They drove through the pre-dawn darkness, taking back roads and avoiding highways where cameras might track them. Marco drove while Luca sat in the back with Emma, watching the city lights fade to suburbs, then to dark stretches of forest. Emma stared out the window, silent. Finally, she said, I'm ruining your life. My life was already complicated. Before me, you had enemies you knew how to handle. Now you have enemies looking for me, and you don't even know why I'm valuable. You're protecting someone who might be. She trailed off. Might be what? Dangerous. Criminal. What if I deserved what happened to me? What if they erased my memory because I did something unforgivable? Luca studied her profile in the darkness. You really believe that? I don't know what to believe. I don't know who I am. I'll tell you who you are. You're someone who sees a stranger in pain and immediately helps. Someone whose first instinct is to heal, not harm. Someone who cries over patients she couldn't save. He leaned forward slightly. That's not a monster, Emma. That's someone with a conscience. Someone who probably got in too deep and tried to get out. You don't know that. No. But I know you've had multiple chances to hurt me. My medication was right there on the bathroom counter. You could have taken it, left me to die, walked out with my wallet and car keys. Instead you saved me. Again Luca shook his head. Whatever you did or didn't do at Phoenix Research, you're not a threat. You're someone who got caught in something bigger than yourself. Emma turned to face him. What if the flash drive proves you wrong? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Why? The question came out raw, desperate. Why are you doing this? You barely know me. Luca looked at her, really looked at her. In the dim light from the dashboard, she looked young and scared and completely lost. But underneath that, he could see the strength. The training that ran bone deep. The intelligence that no drug could fully suppress. Because someone tried to make you disappear, he said. And in my world, that's usually done to people who know too much truth. People who threaten powerful liars. He held her gaze. I've spent my whole life dealing with liars. I know what truth looks like. And you? You're someone telling the truth. Even if you can't remember what that truth is yet. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. What if remembering destroys me? Then you rebuild. But at least you'll know who you're rebuilding from. The car climbed into the mountains as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Ahead, hidden in the forest, was the villa. Safety for now. But Luca knew safety was temporary. Somewhere out there, powerful people were searching for Emma. And Viktor Kozlov was hunting her for his own reasons. The storm was coming. The only question was how long they had before it hit. The villa sat on 20 acres of forest, surrounded by stone walls that looked decorative, but were reinforced with steel. Inside it was surprisingly warm. Wood beams, a stone fireplace, furniture that invited you to sit and stay a while. Not what Emma had expected from a Mafia safe house. It was my mother's, Luca said, watching her take in the space. She designed it before she died. Said if we were going to hide from the world, we should at least be comfortable doing it. Emma ran her hand along the back of a leather couch. It's beautiful. It's safe. 6 security cameras on the perimeter, panic room in the basement, and my best men watching the property line. No one gets close without us knowing. He moved toward the kitchen. Are you hungry? I should be asking you that. When's the last time you ate properly? Luca paused. The truth was he couldn't remember. Between the cardiac episodes and the stress of moving Emma, food had become an afterthought. I'm fine. That's not what I asked. Emma followed him into the kitchen. Your color's off. When did you last take your medication? This morning. Luca. He sighed, pulling the pill bottle from his pocket. Fine. Yes. I forgot this morning. I was busy keeping you alive. Emma took the bottle, reading the label. Sit down. You're taking these now and then you're eating something. Doctor's orders. You're not actually a doctor. You just have the training. Sit down. There was steel in her voice, the same certainty she'd shown when treating him. Luca found himself obeying, sliding onto a bar stool while Emma filled a glass with water and handed him 2 pills. How are you feeling? She asked, watching him swallow them. Any chest pain? Shortness of breath? Some tightness? Nothing I can't handle. That's not how this works. You don't handle a failing heart. You treat it carefully before it kills you. She opened the refrigerator, scanning the contents. Someone, probably Marco, had stocked it before they arrived. When's your next cardiology appointment? I don't have one. Emma turned incredulous. You have a terminal heart condition, and you're not seeing a cardiologist regularly. I see Vincent when I need to. Vincent is a general practitioner with a revoked license who treats you in secret. That's not the same as proper cardiac care. She pulled out eggs, vegetables, bread. You're going to eat an omelet. Protein, some greens. No arguments. Luca watched her move around the kitchen with efficient purpose, cracking eggs, chopping peppers, heating a pan. Her hands never hesitated, even though she'd never been in this kitchen before. Muscle memory again. How many meals had she prepared in her forgotten life? You don't have to take care of me, he said quietly. Yes, I do. You're keeping me alive. The least I can do is return the favor. She poured the eggs into the pan. Besides, it feels right. Helping people. Making sure they're okay. Maybe that's who I was. Someone who took care of others. A trauma surgeon definitely fits. Or a criminal running experiments on people. Her voice went flat. We still don't know. The flash drive will tell us. My guy should crack it any day now. Emma flipped the omelet expertly. And if it confirms I did terrible things, then you did them. But you're not doing them now. Luca accepted the plate she handed him. The omelet was perfect. Fluffy, properly seasoned. People aren't just the worst thing they've ever done. They're also everything they do after. She made her own omelet in silence, then sat across from him at the kitchen island. For a few minutes they just ate. It felt oddly domestic. Peaceful in a way Luca hadn't experienced in years. His life was normally meetings and negotiations, violence and power plays. Quiet moments didn't exist. Tell me something, Emma said suddenly. Why haven't you tried the experimental treatments? For your heart. There are trials, procedures. I've tried them. 3 different experimental protocols. None worked. Luca set down his fork. My condition is genetic, progressive, and apparently resistant to everything medical science has thrown at it. At this point, I'm just buying time. How much time? Vincent thinks maybe 6 months. A year if I'm lucky. He said it matter-of-factly, the way he'd learned to discuss his own death. So you see, you're not the only one with an expiration date. Emma's eyes filled with something that looked like pain. I'm sorry. Don't be. I've had time to make peace with it, mostly. Besides, dying slowly gives you perspective. Makes you think about what matters. And what matters to you? Luca considered the question. A month ago he would have said power, control, respect. But sitting here, watching a woman he barely knew worry about his medication schedule, he wasn't sure anymore. Not dying alone, I guess, he said finally. Not being forgotten the moment I'm gone. Maybe leaving something behind that mattered. You've built an empire. That's not nothing. An empire of fear and violence. Not exactly a legacy to be proud of. He pushed his empty plate aside. What about you? What do you think mattered to the person you were? Emma stared at her half-eaten omelet. I think I wanted to save people. To fix things that were broken. Maybe that's why I ended up at Phoenix Research. Because they promised to cure the incurable. Or because someone forced you to work there. Maybe. But I was a surgeon, Luca. I chose that path. I spent years training to open people up and repair what was broken inside them. She looked up, her blue eyes intense. What if Phoenix Research was trying to cure conditions like yours? What if that's what the flash drive contains? Research on experimental cardiac treatments. The thought hadn't occurred to him, but it made terrible sense. A research facility specializing in experimental treatments for terminal illnesses. A trauma surgeon with specialized cardiac knowledge. And someone willing to erase her memory to keep that research secret. If that's true, Luca said slowly, then whoever erased you might have done it to protect intellectual property. To keep you from taking valuable research to competitors. Or to keep me from exposing unethical testing. Emma stood abruptly, walking to the window. Outside, the forest stretched in every direction. Green and alive and uncaring about human problems. What if people died in those trials? What if I knew about it and tried to run? Then you were trying to do the right thing. The right thing got my memory erased and got me dumped on a street corner to die. She pressed her forehead against the glass. Some reward. Luca joined her at the window, standing close but not touching. You're alive. That's something. Barely. I don't know my real name. I don't know if I have family looking for me. I don't know if I was good or bad or something in between. Her voice cracked. I'm a ghost, Luca. A person-shaped hole where someone used to be. No, he turned her gently to face him. You're Emma. You save people. You make perfect omelets. You boss dying mafia bosses around until they take their medication. That's not a ghost. That's a person. She laughed wetly, tears spilling over. A person you invented because I couldn't remember who I really was. Then maybe who you really were doesn't matter as much as who you choose to be now. They stood there, close enough that Luca could count the tears on her cheeks. Close enough that he noticed the way her breath hitched when she cried. Close enough to be dangerous. Thank you, Emma whispered, for not giving up on me. I don't give up, Luca said. On anything. It's a character flaw. This time her laugh was genuine. She wiped her eyes, stepping back. You should rest. Your heart needs time to recover from all the stress. Only if you rest too. Deal. She headed toward the stairs, then paused. Luca? When we find out who I really am, promise me something. What? Promise you'll tell me the truth. Even if it's bad. Even if it means I was someone you can't protect anymore. Luca met her gaze. I promise. She nodded and disappeared up the stairs. Luca stayed at the window, watching the forest darken as evening approached. Somewhere out there Viktor Kozlov was hunting. Somewhere powerful people were searching for their lost asset. But here in this moment, there was just silence and safety, and a woman who made him think about legacies that mattered. It wouldn't last. Never did. But for now it was enough. The call came on their third morning at the villa. I cracked it, said the voice on the other end. Tommy-chan, the best hacker Luca had ever employed. But boss, you need to see this in person. I'm not sending it over any line, encrypted or not. That bad. That classified. Government level classified. If anyone knew I'd even seen this. Tommy's voice dropped. Meet me at the old factory in Red Hook. 2 hours. Come alone. Luca ended the call and found Emma in the kitchen, teaching herself to bake bread from a cookbook she'd found. Flour dusted her hands and cheek. She looked almost peaceful. We need to go back to the city, he said. The peace evaporated. They cracked the drive. Yeah, but we have to pick it up in person. Luca grabbed his jacket. Marco will drive us. We'll be back before dark. Maybe I should stay here. If it's dangerous. If it's about you, you deserve to see it first. Get your coat. The Phoenix Research Facility ruins sat 40 miles north of the city, just off Route 87. They'd planned to go straight to Tommy, but Emma had insisted on a detour when she saw the exit sign. The name had triggered something. A pull she couldn't explain. Now they stood in an overgrown parking lot, staring at what remained of the building. Federal investigators had stripped it 6 months ago, but vandals and weather had finished the job. Windows shattered, doors hanging loose, walls covered in graffiti. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, plastered with no trespassing signs. We shouldn't be here, Marco said from behind them. Place could be watched. 5 minutes, Emma said, already walking toward the fence. I just need to see inside. Luca followed, watching her circle the perimeter until she found a section where the fence had been cut. She slipped through without hesitation, like she'd done it before. Muscle memory again. The main entrance was sealed, but a side door hung open. Emma walked straight to it, her feet finding the path through debris like she could navigate it blind. Luca stayed close, his hand near the gun under his jacket. Inside, the building was gutted. Stripped floors, empty rooms, wires hanging from ceiling tiles. But the layout remained. Long corridors, numbered doors, the bones of what had been a state-of-the-art research facility. Emma moved through it like a ghost returning home. She turned left without looking, walked straight down a hallway, stopped at a door marked Laboratory 3. This is it, she whispered. I worked here. Luca opened the door. The lab was destroyed. Equipment gone, tables overturned, even the floor tiles pried up by investigators looking for hidden data. But the smell remained. Sharp. Chemical. Antiseptic. The moment Emma stepped inside, her entire body went rigid. Emma. She didn't answer. Her eyes had gone distant, unfocused. She walked to the center of the room, her head tilting slightly like she was listening to something only she could hear. Subject 17 is coding, she said, her voice flat and clinical. Heart rate dropping. BP 70/40 and falling. I'm administering epinephrine. No response. Emma, you're remembering. You're not there anymore. We're losing him. Her hands move through the empty air, performing procedures on an invisible patient. The serum is causing cardiac inflammation, just like the others. Just like I warned them it would. Luca grabbed her shoulders. Emma, look at me. But she was trapped in the memory, watching it play out behind her eyes. Tears streamed down her face as her hands continued their phantom work. He's 23 years old. Terminal glioblastoma. Stage 4. They promised him a cure. They promised. Her voice broke. They're making me kill him. They're making me administer a treatment I know will fail. And if I refuse, they'll... She gasped, her hand flying to her temple where the surgical scar was. They'll reset me. Again. They've done it before. I've forgotten before. How many times? How many times have I stood in this room and watched someone die and then forgotten? Emma. Luca pulled her against his chest, holding her firmly. You're safe. You're with me. This is a memory. Just a memory. She collapsed against him, sobbing. I killed them. 17 people. I administered treatments I knew were toxic. I watched them die one by one, and I kept doing it because they threatened to erase me if I stopped. To reset my memory and start over. They forced you, Luca said quietly. That's not murder. That's being held prisoner. I should have refused. I should have let them erase me the first time. Instead, I kept working. Kept trying to fix the formula. Kept thinking maybe the next version would work. Maybe I could save just one person. She pulled back, looking at him with haunted eyes. But I couldn't. The serum was fundamentally flawed. It targets the diseased cells, but it also attacks healthy cardiac tissue. It cures the illness by destroying the heart. Luca went very still. What illness? Progressive cardiomyopathy. Genetic variant. The kind that's terminal and treatment-resistant. Emma's face was pale. They were developing a radical gene therapy. Something that could rewrite the genetic code causing the condition. But the delivery mechanism was toxic. Every trial subject died of heart failure within weeks of treatment. The room felt suddenly smaller. Colder. Luca, the illness they were trying to cure. Emma's eyes widened. It's your illness. The research was for patients exactly like you. He stepped back. That's impossible. No. It makes perfect sense. Phoenix Research specialized in experimental treatments for terminal genetic conditions. They must have had funding from families, from patients desperate for a cure. Her mind was racing now, pieces falling into place. That's why I knew how to treat your cardiac episodes. I'd spent months working with that exact condition. I knew every symptom, every complication. Emma, don't you see? That's why someone wanted me erased. Not because I stole data, because I knew the truth about their trials. I knew they were killing people with a cure that didn't work. And when I tried to leave, when I tried to take evidence, she touched her temple again. They caught me. Suppressed my memory. Probably planned to kill me, but something went wrong. Luca forced himself to think past the shock. The flash drive. You took data about the trials. Treatment protocols. Patient outcomes. Evidence of the deaths. Emma looked around the ruined laboratory. Proof that Phoenix Research was conducting illegal human trials with a lethal treatment. Proof that could send people to prison for decades. Or worse, Luca said. If government funding was involved, if pharmaceutical companies had invested in the research, we're talking billions of dollars in liability. Criminal charges. Congressional investigations. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. I'm a witness. The only witness who knew the complete picture. That's why they wanted me erased. That's why they're still looking for me. And that's why you ran. Luca pulled out his phone. Tommy has the data. We need to see exactly what's on that drive, names, dates, all of it. Then we know who we're up against. Luca, if what's on there is what I think it is, if it proves Phoenix Research killed people, then the people responsible will do anything to get it back. Anything. Let them try. He held out his hand. Come on. We've been here too long already. Emma took his hand, but before they could move, Marco's voice crackled through Luca's earpiece. Boss, we've got company. 3 vehicles coming up the access road. Moving fast. Luca swore. How far? 2 minutes. Maybe less. Who is it? Can't tell. Windows are tinted. But boss, they're not trying to hide. They want us to know they're coming. Luca pulled Emma toward the door. We're leaving. Now. They ran through the corridors, retracing their path toward the exit. Behind them, car doors slammed. Voices shouted. Heavy footsteps echoed through the building. There! Someone yelled. North corridor. Luca pushed Emma through the side door, then through the cut fence. Marco had the car running, passenger door open. They dove inside and Marco floored it, tires screaming on broken asphalt. Gunfire cracked behind them. The rear window spiderwebbed but held. Who the hell was that? Marco shouted. Luca looked back at the facility, at the figures emerging from the building. Professional. Coordinated. Not Victor's people, these were trained operators. People who really want that flash drive, he said grimly. Emma's hands trembled in her lap. They were waiting. They knew we'd come. Or they've been watching the place, waiting for anyone connected to Phoenix Research to show up. Luca pulled out his phone. Either way, we need that data now. Tommy's going to have to send it encrypted. We're out of time for careful. As Marco drove them back toward the city, Luca watched Emma stare out the window. She'd remembered. Not everything, but enough. Enough to know she'd been both victim and unwilling accomplice. Enough to know that 17 people had died while she tried and failed to save them. Enough to know that the truth she carried could destroy powerful people. And those people were hunting her. Tommy sent the files to a burner laptop by the time they reached the villa. Luca sat up in his study while Emma paced behind him, unable to sit still. Marco stood guard at the door. The flash drive contained 3 folders: patient records, treatment protocols, and personal log. Luca opened the first folder. 17 files, each labeled with a number and initials. Subject 1 JM. Subject 2 RF. Subject 17 DK. He clicked on the first one. Jonathan Myers. Age 41. Diagnosed with genetic cardiomyopathy at 38. Prognosis: 18 to 24 months without intervention. Enrolled in Phoenix Research Trial March 2024. Below that, a photo. A man with kind eyes and a tired smile, standing with 2 young children. Oh God! Emma whispered behind him. I remember him. He was a math teacher. His daughters were 6 and 8-inch. Luca scrolled down. Treatment administered March 15, 2024. Initial response positive. Genetic markers showed correction. Then, 3 weeks later, patient experiencing cardiac inflammation. Arrhythmias increasing. Treatment adjusted. For weeks after that, patient deceased. Cause of death: acute heart failure secondary to myocardial necrosis. The serum worked, Emma said hollowly. It corrected the genetic defect. But the delivery mechanism, viral vector combined with synthetic peptides, it was too aggressive. It attacked the heart muscle while rewriting the DNA. We killed the disease and the patient. Luca opened the next file. Then the next. The pattern was identical. Different names, different faces, different ages. But every outcome the same. Initial correction of the genetic defect, followed by progressive cardiac damage, followed by death. The longest anyone survived post-treatment was 6 weeks. 17 people. 17 families destroyed. They knew, Emma said, her voice shaking. After the 3rd death, we knew the treatment was lethal. But Phoenix Research was funded by Axion Pharmaceuticals. They'd invested $200 million in the research. They couldn't admit failure. So they kept enrolling subjects. Desperate people who'd been told they were dying anyway. People who trusted us. Luca opened the treatment protocols folder. Pages of dense scientific notation, chemical formulas, genetic sequencing data. And there, buried in the technical language, he found it. A modified version of the protocol, labeled Revision 7 Theoretical Only, not approved for testing. "What's this?" he asked. Emma leaned over his shoulder, scanning the document. Her breath caught. That's my work. I was trying to fix it. I modified the viral vector, changed the peptide delivery system, added a cardiac protective compound." Her fingers traced the screen. "This version should prevent the myocardial damage. Should allow the genetic correction without destroying the heart tissue." "Did you test it?" "No. They wouldn't let me. Axion wanted results from the current protocol first. They said I could test modifications after we proved the concept worked." Her laugh was bitter. "But the concept didn't work. The concept killed everyone." Luca opened the final folder, personal log. It was a video file dated 6 months ago. He clicked play. Emma's face filled the screen. She looked exhausted, scared but determined. The video had been recorded in the same laboratory they visited. He recognized the equipment in the background. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chan," Video Emma said. "I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon and researcher at Phoenix Research. If you're watching this, it means something happened to me. It means I either escaped or they silenced me." Luca hit pause. "Sarah Chan." Sarah stared at the screen at her own face from 6 months ago. "That's me. That's my real name." He pressed play again. "For 8 months I've been conducting human trials of a gene therapy for terminal cardiomyopathy. 17 patients have died. Not from their disease, from our cure. Phoenix Research and their funding partner, Axion Pharmaceuticals, have known the treatment was lethal since patient 3. They ordered me to continue anyway. They threatened my family, my sister, my nephew. They said if I refused, there would be consequences." Video Sarah took a shaky breath. "I tried to fix it. I developed a modified protocol that could work, that could actually save lives. But they won't use it. They're too invested in the current approach. Too worried about admitting failure and losing their investment." She held up a flash drive, the same one Luca had found in Sarah's bag. "This drive contains all patient records, all evidence of what we've done. Treatment protocols, death certificates, internal communications proving Axion knew about the deaths. If I disappear, please get this to the FDA, to the press, to anyone who can stop them." Her voice broke. 17 people trusted us. 17 families believed we could save them. And we murdered them for profit." The video ended. Sarah, Luca had to start thinking of her by her real name, was crying silently. "I have a sister. A nephew. They threatened them." "Where are they?" Luca asked immediately. "I don't know. I can't remember." She pressed her hands to her face. "What if Axion already got to them? What if they're dead because of me? Or what if they're safe because you ran? Because you took this evidence and tried to expose the truth?" Luca pulled up a search window, typing quickly. "Sarah Chan, cardiothoracic surgeon." Results flooded the screen. Dr. Sarah Chan graduated Johns Hopkins Medical School, top of her class. Completed her residency at Massachusetts General. Published multiple papers on cardiac surgery techniques. And then 8 months ago, she'd vanished from public records entirely. No publications, no conference appearances, nothing. "They erased you from everything," Luca said. "Made you disappear professionally before they tried to erase you personally." Sarah scrolled through the search results, staring at photos of herself from medical conferences, from hospital directories. A stranger wearing her face. "I was someone. I had a career, a reputation, a life. And they took it all away because I wouldn't keep killing for them." Luca clicked back to the modified protocol. "This revision you created, does it actually work?" "Theoretically, yes. But it was never tested. For all I know, it could be just as lethal. Or it could be the cure I've been looking for." Luca met her eyes. "The cure for my condition?" "No," Sarah stood abruptly. "Absolutely not. You're not using untested gene therapy based on my theoretical modifications. You could die. I'm already dying. You said so yourself, 6 months, maybe a year. That's still time. Time to try approved treatments, to look for other options. What you're suggesting is suicide. What I'm suggesting, Luca said calmly, is taking a chance on something that might actually work. Your original protocol failed because the delivery mechanism was too aggressive. You fixed that. You designed a version that protects the heart while correcting the genetic defect. On paper. In theory. Sarah's voice rose. I don't have lab equipment. I don't have the compounds I'd need to synthesize the modified serum. I don't have any way to test it before administration. And even if I could make it, even if the formula is correct, I can't ask you to risk your life on my untested research. You're not asking. I'm offering. Luca, listen to me, she grabbed his arms, forcing him to look at her. I have 17 deaths on my conscience. 17 people who trusted me and died because I wasn't strong enough to refuse. I can't add you to that list. I can't watch another person die from a cure that destroys them. Then don't watch. Luca pulled up the protocol again. Help me understand this. Help me find the resources to synthesize it properly. Help me have a chance at living instead of just waiting to die. You're asking me to become the monster I was trying to expose. No. I'm asking you to become the doctor who saves lives instead of ending them. He stood, facing her. Those 17 people, they died because Axion pushed a flawed treatment. Not because you failed them. You tried to stop it. You tried to fix it. You risked everything to expose the truth. And I lost. I lost my memory, my identity, my family. Everyone I tried to save died anyway. They died. Past tense. But I'm not dead yet. Luca touched her face gently. You said you wanted to fix broken things. Here's your chance. Fix me. Or at least try. Sarah closed her eyes, tears spilling over. If I try and you die, I'll never forgive myself. And if you don't try and I die anyway, will you forgive yourself then? She opened her eyes, searching his face. Whatever she saw there, desperation or determination or something else, made her shoulders slump in defeat. This is insane, she whispered. Probably. It could kill you faster than your condition would. I know. We'd need a real lab, proper equipment, the base compounds for synthesis, and time, weeks, maybe months to do it safely. Then we'll find all of that. Luca pulled her close. Together. Sarah rested her forehead against his chest. Why are you so determined to trust me? Because you're the only person in my life who saved me without wanting something in return. That's worth betting everything on. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. Okay, but we do this right. No shortcuts, no rushing. We synthesize the modified serum carefully. We test it thoroughly. And we don't administer anything until I'm absolutely certain it's safe. Deal. And Luca. She held his gaze. If Axion finds out we're trying to perfect the treatment they failed to create, they won't just want me back. They'll want us both dead. Let them come, Luca said quietly. I've got nothing left to lose. Except he realized that wasn't true anymore. He had Sarah. And the fragile possibility of a future. That was something worth fighting for. The attack came on their 7th night at the villa. Sarah was in the makeshift lab they'd set up in the basement, really just a cleared storage room with equipment Luca had acquired through his contacts. Nothing sophisticated enough for actual synthesis yet, but enough for her to begin mapping out the exact process they'd need. Luca was upstairs reviewing security footage when Marco's voice crackled through his earpiece. Movement on the north perimeter. Multiple targets. Luca was on his feet instantly. How many? At least 8. Professional formation. They're not trying to hide. Marco's voice tightened. Boss, these aren't Victor's people. This is a tactical team. Lock down the house. Get everyone to defensive positions. Luca was already moving toward the basement. Do not engage until I give the order. He found Sarah bent over her notebook, so focused she didn't hear him approach. Sarah, we have a problem. She looked up, saw his face, and immediately understood. They found us. 8 hostiles, north perimeter. We need to get you to the panic room. What about you? I'll be fine. Marco and the team can handle. The first window exploded. Glass shattered across the floor as something metal clattered into the living room. Smoke grenade. Within seconds, thick gray smoke was billowing through the first floor. Basement. Now. Luca grabbed Sarah's arm, pulling her toward the reinforced door at the back of the storage room. The panic room, steel walls, independent air supply, communication equipment. Could hold out for days if necessary. But before they reached it, automatic gunfire erupted upstairs. The sound was deafening even through the floor. Marco and his men returning fire, the tactical team advancing. Marco status. Luca shouted into his comm. They breached the front and east entrances simultaneously. We're holding the main hallway, but the transmission cut to static, then Marco's voice returned strained. We've got wounded. Tony took 2 rounds to the chest. He's bleeding out and I can't. I'm coming up, Sarah said immediately. Absolutely not. Luca blocked her path. You stay here. You're what they want. And Tony's dying. You said it yourself, he's bleeding out. If it's chest wounds, he's got minutes without treatment. Maybe less. She met his eyes. I'm a trauma surgeon, Luca. This is what I do. Sarah, how many men do you have up there? 6? 7. If you lose even 1 to injuries you could have treated, you lose tactical advantage. You lose the ability to defend this house. Her voice was steady, clinical. Let me help or watch your people die. Your choice. More gunfire. Someone screamed. The tactical team was pushing forward, and Marco's men were being overwhelmed. Luca made the decision in a heartbeat. You stay behind me. You do exactly what I say. The second I tell you to run, you run. Understood. Understood. They moved upstairs together, staying low. The smoke was thicker here, burning Luca's eyes and throat. Through the gray haze he could see muzzle flashes. Marco and 3 other men behind overturned furniture, trading fire with the tactical team advancing through the smoke. Tony lay against the far wall, his shirt soaked red, his breathing shallow and ragged. Cover us. Luca shouted to Marco, then pulled Sarah across the room in a crouching run. Bullets whined past them too close. They reached Tony and dropped behind the partial cover of a thick wooden bookshelf. Sarah's hands went immediately to Tony's chest, her fingers finding the wounds. 2 entry points, no exit wounds. Bullets still inside. He's got a pneumothorax, collapsed lung. Maybe 3 minutes before he suffocates. Can you fix it? Not here. Not without equipment. She looked around frantically. I need something hollow. A pen, a straw, anything tubular. Luca pulled a pen from his pocket. Sarah grabbed it, snapped it in half and removed the ink cartridge, leaving just the hollow plastic tube. This is going to hurt, she told Tony, who could barely nod. Then she felt along his ribs, counted, and without hesitation drove the tube between 2 ribs directly into his chest cavity. Tony gasped, his back arching. Air hissed out through the makeshift chest tube, the collapsed lung releasing pressure. After a few seconds his breathing eased. Still labored, still dangerous, but no longer immediately fatal. That'll buy him 20 minutes, Sarah said. But he needs a hospital. Real surgery. Marco. Luca called out. We need an exit route. Tony's stable but critical. South door's still clear, but it won't be for long. They're surrounding the house. Marco fired 3 quick shots. Boss, I'm down to my last magazine. We don't have the firepower to hold them much longer. Luca's mind raced through options. They couldn't win this fight, they were outnumbered and outgunned. But they couldn't surrender either. The tactical team wasn't here to arrest them. Sarah, can you move Tony? She assessed quickly. If 2 people support him, maybe. But any major jostling could dislodge the tube and he'll collapse again. Then you're on Tony duty. Luca pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. Marco on my signal, you and the others lay down suppressing fire. Sarah gets Tony to the south exit. I've got reinforcements 5 minutes out. Who? Marco demanded. Everyone Luca sent the message. A single word to every contact in his organization. Every ally who owed him favors. Every soldier on his payroll. I'm calling in every debt I have. We just need to survive until they arrive. A massive explosion rocked the house. The east wall blew inward, and the tactical team poured through the breach. 6 men in black tactical gear, faces covered, moving with military precision. Now! Luca shouted. Marco and his men opened fire, forcing the team to take cover. Sarah and another soldier grabbed Tony, hauling him toward the south door. Luca provided cover, his pistol cracking steadily as he fired at anything that moved through the smoke. They made it to the door. Outside, the night air was cold and clear after the smoke-filled house. Sarah got Tony into the back of a vehicle while Luca and Marco held the doorway. Get him out of here, Luca ordered the driver. Closest hospital. Go. The vehicle tore down the driveway just as the tactical team breached the south entrance. Luca and Marco fell back, joining Sarah behind a stone planter. Your reinforcements better hurry, Marco said, slamming in his last magazine. Sarah was checking another wounded man, shoulder wound, not life-threatening but bleeding heavily. Her hands worked automatically, tearing fabric for bandages, applying pressure. Even in the chaos, even under fire, she was calm, focused. This was muscle memory deeper than anything the drugs had suppressed. There! One of the tactical team shouted, pointing directly at Sarah. Target acquired. Take her alive. Kill everyone else. Luca stepped in front of her. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. A familiar voice called from the smoke. Viktor Kozlov emerged, flanked by 4 more men. Not part of the tactical team, these were his personal enforcers. The Russian smiled, his gold teeth glinting in the firelight from the burning house. Luca, 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 Viktor said, shaking his head. All this trouble for one woman. I'm almost impressed. Walk away, Viktor. This isn't your fight. But it is. You see these gentlemen? He gestured to the tactical team. They hired me to find your little doctor. They offered a very generous contract. And when I deliver her, they've promised to overlook certain inconveniences regarding my recent operations. You sold out to Axion Pharmaceuticals. I sold out to money and immunity. The name doesn't matter. Victor's smile widened. Now you can hand her over peacefully, or my friends here can take her from your corpse. I really don't care which. Behind them engines roared. Headlights blazed through the trees as vehicles poured onto the property. At least a dozen cars, maybe more. Luca's reinforcements. Victor's smile faltered. What? I told you, Luca said calmly. Walk away. 50 men emerged from the vehicles, all armed, all loyal to the DeLuca family. They spread out in formation, surrounding Victor's people and the tactical team. What had been an overwhelming assault became a standoff. The tactical team leader assessed the situation quickly. This isn't worth it. Fall back. No. Victor snarled. We have a contract. We have a tactical disadvantage. Mission abort, the team leader signaled his men. They retreated into the forest with professional efficiency, disappearing into the darkness. Victor stood alone with his 4 enforcers, facing 60 hostile guns. You've made a mistake tonight, Luca, he said quietly. A very expensive mistake. These people won't stop. Axion Pharmaceuticals won't stop. They'll keep coming until they get what they want. Then I'll keep stopping them. Luca raised his gun. Now get off my property before I forget we used to do business together. Victor retreated to his car, his men following. Within minutes, the villa grounds were empty except for Luca's people. Sarah emerged from behind the planter, looking at the destruction. The house was burning, windows shattered, walls riddled with bullet holes. 3 of Marco's men were wounded, but they'd survived. They'll come back, she said quietly. I know. Luca holstered his weapon, which is why we're not waiting for them. We're going on offense. What do you mean? I mean, we're going to finish what you started. Luca pulled out the flash drive from his pocket. We're going to expose Axion Pharmaceuticals for everything they've done. We're going to make sure the whole world knows about the 17 people they murdered. That'll make us targets for life. We're already targets. Luca looked at her. At least this way we take them down with us. Sarah stared at the burning villa, at the evidence of how far Axion would go to keep their secrets buried. Then she nodded. Okay, let's end this. The offshore clinic sat on a small island 40 miles from the coast of Maine, accessed only by private boat. It had been built decades ago as a medical retreat for wealthy patients seeking discretion. Now, under Luca's ownership, it served a different purpose: treatment for people who couldn't walk into regular hospitals with their particular injuries. But the facility had everything Sarah needed: a real laboratory, proper equipment, pharmaceutical-grade compounds, and most importantly, isolation from Axion's reach. This is incredible, Sarah said, touring the lab on their second day. Sterile surfaces, modern centrifuges, a gene sequencer that probably costs more than most houses. How did you get all this? I've been moving money and resources here for years. Insurance policy. Luca watched her examine the equipment with an expression close to joy. When your business involves people occasionally needing untraceable medical care, you invest in the infrastructure. Untraceable medical care, she repeated. Is that what we're calling it? I'm calling it survival. You can call it whatever you want. He leaned against the doorframe, already feeling the exhaustion that came too easily now. His episodes were getting more frequent. Yesterday he'd had 2. How long until you can synthesize the modified serum? Weeks. Maybe a month if everything goes perfectly. She pulled on latex gloves, her hands already reaching for vials and compounds like a pianist returning to a familiar keyboard. I need to reconstruct the viral vector first, then modify the peptide delivery system, then synthesize the cardiac protective compound. Each step takes time. We might not have time. Victor knows we're gone, and Axion knows we have the evidence. They'll be searching. Then they'll search. But I'm not rushing this, Luca. I'm not killing you because we moved too fast. Sarah's voice was firm. We do this right, or we don't do it at all. Over the next 3 weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Sarah spent 12-hour days in the lab, meticulously reconstructing the modified protocol from her notes and memory. Luca handled security, coordinating with Marco to monitor any movement from Axion or Victor's people. At night, they'd sit in the small kitchen overlooking the ocean and share whatever progress had been made. The viral vector is stable, Sarah announced on day 15, setting down her tablet. I've run it through 3 different cell lines and the genetic integration is clean. No random mutations, no unintended targets. That's good, Luca asked, pushing a plate of pasta toward her. She'd been forgetting to eat again. That's excellent. It means the first component works. She took a bite absently, her mind clearly still in the lab. Next is the peptide modification. That's the part that killed everyone before. The original version was too aggressive. It helped deliver the genetic correction but triggered massive inflammation. My modification should eliminate that response. Should. Will. It will eliminate it. But her hand trembled slightly as she set down her fork. At least according to every model I've run. But models aren't the same as human testing. Luca reached across the table, stilling her shaking hand. Hey, look at me. She did, those blue eyes filled with doubt and fear. You're not the same person who worked at Phoenix Research, he said quietly. That Sarah was forced to follow protocols she knew were wrong. You're choosing to do this right. There's a difference. What if right still isn't good enough? What if my modifications fail and you die anyway? Then I die trying something instead of just waiting for the end. That's more than I had a month ago. He squeezed her hand. You gave me hope, Sarah. That's worth everything. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm scared. I know. So am I. He pulled her hand to his chest, letting her feel his irregular heartbeat. But we're scared together. That makes it easier. She moved around the table, and he pulled her into his lap. She fit there perfectly, her head tucked under his chin, her hands resting over his heart. They stayed like that for a long time, just breathing together. "When this is over," Sarah said softly, "when the serum is ready and we've dealt with Axion, what happens then? What do you want to happen?" "I want," she paused, thinking. "I want to practice medicine again. Real medicine, helping people who need it. Not experimental protocols or forced trials. Just healing." "Then that's what you'll do. What about you? What do you want?" Luca had spent his entire adult life building power and control. His empire was everything: the deals, the territory, the fear his name commanded. But sitting here with Sarah in his arms, looking out at the dark ocean, he realized none of that mattered anymore. "I want to live," he said simply. "Really live, not just survive day to day. I want mornings that don't start with pain. I want to see next year. And the year after that." He tightened his arms around her. "I want time. Time to figure out what kind of person I could be if I wasn't dying." "We'll get you that time," Sarah promised. "I swear it." On day 23, Sarah completed the synthesis. 3 vials of clear liquid, each containing enough modified serum for one treatment. She held them up to the light, her expression unreadable. "This is it," she said. 18 months of research, 17 deaths, and everything I learned from both. This is either the cure we've been looking for, or another failure." "You don't believe it's a failure?" Luca could see it in her eyes, the certainty that had been building day by day as each test came back positive. "No, I don't. Every simulation shows it should work. The viral vector integrates cleanly, the peptide delivery is controlled, and the cardiac protective compound prevents inflammation. In theory, this should correct your genetic defect without destroying your heart." She set down the vials carefully. "But theory and practice are different things." "Then let's move to practice. Luca, we should do more tests. Animal models, extended observation." "I'm not a lab rat and we're out of time. You said yourself my episodes are getting worse. Last week I had 4 in one day." He took her hands. "I trust you. I trust your research. I trust that if anyone can fix what's broken in me, it's you. And if I'm wrong, then we tried. That's all anyone can do," he smiled. "Besides, you told me yourself, you're very good at your job." Sarah laughed wetly, tears streaming down her face. "You're impossible." "I'm determined. There's a difference." They spent the next 3 days preparing. Sarah ran final checks on the serum, calculated exact dosages based on Luca's weight and cardiac function, and prepared the medical equipment they'd need for monitoring. Luca put his affairs in order: letters written, assets distributed, messages recorded for Marco and his other people, just in case. On the morning of day 26, they stood together in the clinic's treatment room. Luca lay on the medical bed, line already placed in his arm. Monitors beeped steadily, tracking his erratic heartbeat. Sarah held the first vial, her hand steady despite the fear in her eyes. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. Do it. She loaded the syringe, checking it twice. Then she looked at him, really looked at him like she was memorizing his face. "I love you," she said suddenly. "I don't know when it happened or how, but I do. I needed you to know that before." "I know." Luca reached up, touching her face. "I love you too. That's why this is going to work. Because neither of us gets to lose the other. Not now. Not when we've just found each other." Sarah nodded, wiping her eyes. Then, with the steady hands of a surgeon who'd performed thousands of procedures, she injected the serum into his foreline. "Here we go," she whispered. The serum entered his bloodstream, and together, they waited to see if Sarah Chen's modified cure would save Luca De Luca's life, or end it. 6 months later, the coastal town of Seabrook, Maine looked like something from a postcard: white clapboard houses, fishing boats bobbing in the harbor, and a main street where everyone knew everyone's name. The kind of place where people came to disappear or to start over. Sarah stood on the porch of the small clinic, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink. Behind her, inside the renovated building that had once been a general store, 3 examination rooms and a small pharmacy waited for the day's patients. The door opened and Luca emerged, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He moved carefully, still adjusting to a body that worked properly for the first time in years. The genetic therapy had taken 3 months to fully integrate, 3 months of monitoring of small improvements of Sarah checking his cardiac function obsessively. But it had worked. His heart was healing. The scar tissue reversing. The arrhythmias gone. "Mrs. Patterson is coming in at 9, he said, handing her a cup. "Says her arthritis is acting up again." "I'll prepare the injection." Sarah took the coffee, smiling. "How are you feeling?" "Stop asking me that every hour. I'm a doctor. It's my job to ask. You're my partner. Your job is to trust that I tell you if something was wrong." But he was smiling too. "I feel good. Better than good. I went for a run this morning 2 miles without stopping. 6 months ago I could barely walk upstairs." Sarah set down her coffee and took his hand, pressing her fingers to his wrist. Checking his pulse had become habit, a small reassurance she needed. The rhythm was strong and steady. Normal. "Perfect," she said softly. "You can stop worrying. The cure worked." "I know. But I'll probably check your pulse every day for the rest of our lives anyway." "I can live with that." Luca pulled her close, kissing her forehead. Literally. They'd released the Phoenix research files 2 weeks after his treatment began. Every document, every patient record, every piece of evidence of Axion Pharmaceuticals' illegal trials. The story had exploded across national news. Congressional hearings were scheduled. Criminal charges filed. Axion's CEO had resigned in disgrace, and 3 board members faced prison time. Viktor Kozlov had disappeared. Probably fled the country when he realized Luca had outmaneuvered him. The tactical team that had attacked the villa was traced back to private contractors hired by Axion. They were cooperating with investigators now, giving up names to avoid longer sentences. Sarah's sister had been found safe, living under witness protection. She and her son, Sarah's nephew, who she'd remembered was named Jacob, were relocated to a new city with new identities. Sarah had spoken to them once by phone. A tearful reunion where she'd explained everything and promised they'd see each other again someday, when it was truly safe. "Do you regret it?" Luca asked, watching the boats in the harbor. "Giving up your old life? You were on track to be one of the top cardiothoracic surgeons in the country. I was on track to be a lot of things before Phoenix research. But this," Sarah gestured to the clinic, to the town, to the simple life they'd built. "This is who I choose to be. Dr. Sarah Miller, running a small-town clinic, treating people who need help. No experiments. No corporate funding. No pressure to produce results that benefit shareholders instead of patients." "Sarah Miller," Luca repeated, still getting used to the new name. "Says Lucas Miller," she grinned. "We match now." They'd both taken new identities after the hearings concluded. Legal name changes, new social security numbers, the whole process. It was safer that way. Axion was destroyed, but pharmaceutical companies had long memories and deep pockets. Some executive somewhere might decide revenge was worth the investment. Better to be 2 ordinary people in a small Maine town than the whistleblower and the Mafia boss who brought down a Fortune 500 company. "I still can't believe you're a civilian now," Sarah said. "No empire, no soldiers, no territory to defend." "I signed everything over to Marco. He's better at it anyway." Less sentimental, Luca sipped his coffee. "Besides, I found something better than power." "What's that?" "Peace. Waking up without wondering if today's the day my heart gives out. Coming home to someone who actually wants me there. Helping Mrs. Patterson with her arthritis instead of deciding whether someone lives or dies." He looked at her. "You gave me a second chance at life, Sarah. I'm not wasting it on the same mistakes." The clinic door opened and a young woman entered, holding a crying toddler. "Dr. Miller? Sorry to come so early, but Emma's fever spiked and I didn't know what to do." "It's fine. Bring her in. Sarah was already moving, her doctor instincts taking over. She took the child gently, assessing her with experienced eyes. Has she been eating? Drinking fluids? Luca watched Sarah work. Calm, competent, caring. This was who she was meant to be. Not a trauma surgeon in an experimental research facility, forced to watch patients die, but a healer in a small town helping families, saving lives one patient at a time. After Sarah examined the child, just a viral infection, nothing serious, and sent the relieved mother home with instructions, she returned to the porch. The sun was higher now, the town waking up. People walked their dogs, opened their shops, waved to neighbors. Normal life. The kind Sarah had forgotten existed. The kind Luca had never known. Think we'll get bored? Sarah asked, leaning against him. No more running, no more danger. No more life or death situations. God, I hope so. Luca wrapped his arm around her. Boring sounds perfect. She tilted her face up to kiss him. I love you, Lucas Miller. I love you too, Dr. Sarah Miller. In the distance, lobster boats headed out to sea. Gulls cried overhead. The small New England town continued its peaceful rhythm, unaware that two of its newest residents had once been at the center of a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of corporate and criminal power. But that was another life. Another story. This was their new beginning. No forgotten memories, no erased identities, no secrets buried under layers of lies. Just two people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk into the light together. Sarah's memories had returned fully over the months, not all at once but in gentle waves, just as Luca had predicted. She remembered her childhood, her medical training, her sister's laugh, her nephew's first steps. She remembered the good along with the bad, the joy along with the pain. She remembered who she'd been, but chose who she wanted to become. And Luca, his heart grew stronger every day. Not just physically, though the genetic therapy continued to repair the damage, but emotionally, spiritually. The part of him that had been dying long before his diagnosis, the part that had hardened under years of violence and power plays, that part was healing too. They'd both been broken in different ways. Both faced impossible odds. Both chose to fight for something better. Now they had it. Mrs. Patterson at 9. Sarah said, checking her phone. Then the Anderson twins for their checkups at 10. Busy day. The best kind. Luca finished his coffee. I'll prep the exam rooms. Such a good nurse. Assistant. I'm your assistant. There's a difference. Sarah laughed, the sound clear and bright. Whatever you say, boss. They went inside together, ready to face a day of small emergencies and routine checkups. A day of helping their neighbors, of being part of a community, of living the quiet life they'd fought so hard to earn. Behind them, the sun climbed higher over Seabrook. The ocean rolled eternal. And two people who'd been erased, who'd been dying, who'd been lost, they'd found their way home. Not to a place they'd known before, but to something better. A life they'd chosen, a love they'd built, a future that was finally genuinely theirs. And in the end, that was the greatest cure of all. The end.